Good morning, I'm Jackie. They are Crystal, Fanny, Yo-Yo, and Iris. We are going to teach the Class 5 students about natural science. And our topic is density. We think that they will be interested in our topic as we will do some experiment with them. After this lesson, students will be able to identify the principle of density and will able to carry out the experiment in sequential order by themselves. Since we have never met the students in Guizhou, we will try to use the simple materials so that we will make sure that they will understand what we teach. Before our lesson starts, the teachers will try to prepare the materials such as the plastic cups and the water. And to motivate our students, we will also prepare our finished experimental products to let them to see what we will do afterwards, so that they will get motivated and look forward to the experiment and pay more attention and participate more in class.
So first of all, we'll invite the students to form their groups. And the 6 in the groups or 7 in the groups. And we'll start our lesson by explaining the principle of density. And we'll explain the principle of density by using the solid, liquid, and gases, the pattern of them. And aside from explaining the principle, we will invite some students to come out to the front stage and act as the particles, which is so-called atoms in the three materials. When we explain the patterns of solids, we will invite students to form in a square, and they will be stand closely to each other. And so that it can explain the property of the solid, that the particles will be tightly packed together and without moving from one another. As we can see from here, the students will be tightly packed in the square and act as the particles. And when we explain the pattern of the liquid, the students will be asked to walk around closely to each other. And so they can show the property of the liquids that the atoms will slide from each other and with a very little space from each other. When we explain the pattern of the gas, we invite the students to walk away from each other in a very quick speed. Together, it can show the property of a gas that the particles will move from each other in a very far space in a high speed. And aside from explaining this concept of the solid, liquid, and gas, we explain the concept that the things with particles that have a very further distance, it will have a lower density and vice versa. And also we will explain the concept that the things with a lower density will float and the things with a high density will sink.
Here are the materials that we will use in the experiment. But due to the poor living condition in Guizhou, we will use some simple and easy found material, such as water, oil, transparent cup, bottle caps, straw, and straw. Now I'm going to talk about the safety precaution. Students should listen to the teacher's instruction carefully to avoid any accident occur. Secondly, they should not taste the liquid used in the experiment. Thirdly, they should not play with the materials. In order to let the students to have more understanding to this precaution, we have prepared some scenes to see if they can understand or not.
Hey, you see what is this? Oh, I think it's so yummy. You try it. You try it.
I try it. Yes, you try this.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, wait, you have cheese. Cheese. We have to change. This. 1, 2, 3. You drink this.
Yeah, but this looks so yum. This looks warm.
Can you call out what they have done wrong? No. Have you listened to me? They should not taste the liquid when they do the experiment.
Scissors. I have never seen scissors before.
You cut it.
Cut it. Yes.
And as well as this paper. You cut it.
This.
Oh.
They should not
It's so
play
sharp.
with the materials that we have provided to them.
You scared her. Now you scared her.
At the beginning of the experiment, we will guide the students to do 1 to 2 steps in order to let them know what they should do in the following step. We will give them some time and they have to finish their task by themselves. We think that this can provide an opportunity for them to have the discussion among themselves. And if they have any doubts, they can seek help from the teachers by raise their hands up and to solve the questions. After the whole class have finished their tasks, we would like to invite all of them to show their work in front of the class.
And for the consolidation part, since we have already demonstrated the experiment and all of the students have participated in it, so we want to make sure if they really understand the experiment. And we will give out the worksheet to each group. And then we will provide the colored pencil to them and ask them to color each section according to the results of the experiment and label them. And to conclude the lessons, we will ask questions like, do you know the name of the experiment that you have learned today? And what have you learned from the experiment? And can you suggest some material that will float in oil, etc.? And for the assignment, we will ask students to carry out experiment using water and raw egg and 1 boiled egg, and they will put it into a glass of water and observe whether which egg will sink and which egg will float. And after that, they will draw the results on the paper and label them and submit the paper to us. And this is the end of our lesson plan.
Okay, group 9, this